when you hear of a missing child, that's a really big deal, but it generally will get wrapped up really quickly. When you hear of 2 missing kids for now going into its 3rd week, it's unprecedented. It's a parent's worst nightmare. And I think I can say, based on the reaction of Nova Scotians, it's something people are just not willing to accept.
Yeah. I think what is also frustrating about this case is there's not a lot of information known about the family. And so that's kind of led to a lot of online speculation just about everybody involved in the family. What do we know about the parents and the kids?
We know very little, and it's important to be able to separate fact from fiction. But in essence, what we know as a fact here is we have a family living in Pictou County, Nova Scotia, which is a rural area. They live in Lansdowne Station, which is kind of like a rural area of a small town. And in the home, it is a stepfather, Daniel Martel, his partner, Malaya Brooks Murray. And Malaya has 2 children from a prior relationship. That is 4-year-old Jack and 6-year-old Lily. Daniel and Malaya have a 16-month-old baby together. So you have the 5 of them in this house. And to describe the property, they have a large yard. It's a home on a quiet highway. It's not like a subdivision where there's going to be neighbors on each side. Each side of this house is forest. Behind the house is forest. The house itself is pretty run down. It kind of looks like a trailer that's been converted into a home with almost like a makeshift fence around the backyard, as well as just like there's just a lot of stuff in their yard. It's I would describe it as an unkempt property, and that's important to say just because so much of the search involves these kids getting out and where they may have gone. I should also say that the forest that surrounds their home isn't like a go for a jog on the paths in this woods. This
It's
is
wilderness.
Yeah, it is wilderness. There's a lot of steep hills. We had a massive hurricane here just about a year ago, so there's a lot of downed trees. And where we have so much like spruce and pine trees, when they're knocked down and they dry out, they just create an impenetrable wall of forest. So the area that's being searched for these kids behind this home, it's if you wanted to walk a kilometer into that woods, it would be a hell of a mission that would take you all day. I couldn't imagine.
So this is the podcast, night time podcast. They are from Nova Scotia. They are covering the case of the 2 missing children, Jack and Lilly Sullivan. As you know, they are missing since May 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. It's almost more than 3 weeks since their disappearance. I found this channel is very, very interesting. They are from Canada, Nova Scotia, actually. And I think this is a very equilibrated and well balanced podcast. It's not sensationalist at all. I found their discussion really, really interesting. So I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna stop from time to time to talk to you guys in the chat.
Imagine a 4-year-old doing it.
Yeah, we took part in some ground searches last summer, and by the time we got in there, once the blackberry bushes had started to grow in, and once the spring growth had come in, what we were walking through at times was at least anywhere from 3 to 6 foot of growth and bush. With
you need a machete to get through.
And we're literally walking where no one has walked in years or whatever, or forever. So it's like it just gets, and then you also have everything that has fallen from the tree and died the previous year now makes up the forest floor, which is now, over the years, several feet higher than it once was, or unless it gets washed out or whatever. So it's like you're really dealing with such dangerous and tricky terrain. Even if you are a trained SAR person, like it's not easy to get through by any means. And you're looking for small people.
Yeah. Let's go back to what we know about that morning. What were the kids wearing? Is there a description of what they looked like at the time? How much they had on them? Is there any of that?
There is, but all of it almost has to be taken with a grain of salt, because when you think of this morning, so this all happens on a Friday morning. I mentioned that Daniel and Malaya have a 16-month-old baby together. The way they tell the story is that they were laying in bed, dozing, having a late slumber with their 16-month-old. Lily and Jack had woken up earlier, and they were out in the, imagine like the main area of the home, like the living room or whatnot. So as Daniel, Malaya, and the baby are in bed, they can hear Jack and Lily. And it's been said that Lily actually came into the master bedroom a couple times to, just say hi or whatever. But Malaya and Daniel and the baby just kind of lazed in bed. Around 10 a.m. is when they noticed it wasn't the noise of Jack and Lily that woke them up. It was actually the silence.
Yeah.
The home is completely silent. And they say, what's
And
up
as
with
a
that?
parent, that's weird. You're like, wait.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you, as a parent of 2 kids myself, when they're quiet is when you got to worry.
Yeah.
And they jumped out of bed, and Lily and Jack were nowhere to be found. Daniel rushes out of the home to begin searching around the backyard. Malaya does the same. Not long after that, Malaya calls 911 to report the 2 children missing. And that is really where the trail ends, because from that point on, nothing is found. But we do have a description of what they were wearing. And I believe this description was the source of basically deduction, because they didn't see Jack that morning. They were in bed. They heard Jack, but they didn't see him. And Lily just kind of like opened the door and kind of popped her head in. So they didn't get a good look at her either. The initial version of what they were wearing was both wearing rain boots. The 4-year-old Jack was initially described as just wearing a pull-up diaper, where Lily was thought to be wearing a pink outfit and carrying her backpack, which is a white backpack with like a red strawberry pattern on it. Several days later, the description of Jack was updated to be, they believe he was wearing a brown shirt and brown pants. But other than just wearing her in pink, him in brown, her with a backpack, and both of them in rain boots, that's about as much as we got. But
and I think we should add here that so Wednesday was a professional development day at school, so the kids were not at school that day. Then on Thursday, Jack and Lily were also not at school because Lily had a cough. And then on Friday, the kids were also not at school that day. So there was 3 days that the kids were off. So that, I just want to throw that out there because it's been spoken about, but also because, when if the parent's lying in bed with the 16-month-old and you got 2 kids who didn't go to school that morning, that means you didn't throw them into their clothes and hand them, you didn't see everything that
they probably dressed
that they
themselves.
were wearing, right?
They dressed themselves.
Yeah, so they would have either dressed themselves or put on or had just been in their pajamas or whatever, because it was 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's not like you had like clothes laid out for them to start their day and then go off to school. So like I think that could add to some of the confusion as to what maybe they were wearing.
Maybe, but I think also this idea of them missing school earlier or throughout the week, I think also adds to a lot of the discussion online, because it just shows that this wasn't.
Yeah, that's a good question. Just reporting. What were they wearing? I guess if it is actually true that the parents were sleeping at the time, my guess is that they are guessing that they were using the same clothes that they used when they went to sleep the night before. I don't know. There's a lot of red flags here for sure. I don't know. It's very weird. This is a Canadian podcast. They are from Nova Scotia. You know that Canadians are very nice. They are not going into drama or into speculation. They are very respectful. But of course, we know that a lot of stuff here is very suspicious for sure. But I enjoyed the podcast and the conversation, so that's why I want to. They have good points, but I want to listen to your ideas or your hypothesis here in the chat, guys. Also,
A regular week. These children disappearing at the end of an unusual week, because it wouldn't be common to have your kids miss 2 days of school for not a great reason, like having a little cough. When you have school age children, it's so like whatever's going around as far as viruses, it makes its way through all the 4 and 6-year-olds. So it's probably unusual to not have a runny nose or a cough. For a 4-year-old is in Nova Scotia we call pre-primary, which is like the lowest grade, and it's that part. I wouldn't say it hasn't sat well with me, but it's just, to me, I've always thought like an unusual time to go missing at the end of these, this absence from school over several days.
Right.
And it also raises a lot of questions online where people are asking, who was the last person to see the children other than the parents? That's a big question. And I think that's a reasonable question that
Fair,
people
yeah.
have.
I
And,
mean-
and I haven't seen that publicly answered by anyone yet, but I'm sure at this point in the investigation that that conversation is happening in a
With
police.
law enforcement.
Well, we know that other than the parents, the last person who saw the children was the driver of the bus school, like 2 days before the disappearance was reported to law enforcement. So it's really very weird. There were like 3 days where we don't know what happened after the school bus driver saw the children, and the day the parents reported the disappearance of the children. Hello Lini P, bonsoir, bonsoir à toi aussi, comment ça va? Tu parles français? Just reporting, school bus driver, maybe, yeah. He was the last person who saw the children alive other than the parents. So something is not adding up here, but let's continue with the video here.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to ask, but speaking of law enforcement, so we know Maleha called police at 10 a.m.
Sorry, guys. Let me just do a quick stop here to say hello to Barbara from Timmy's Legacy. I'm so happy to see you here, Barbara. I hope the investigation of the disappearance of your son, Timmy, is going well. Keep me updated. And by the way, we are late to do another video about your son. I really want to help you with the case. Let's continue here.
Or around 10 a.m. or somewhere between 10 or when they noticed the kids were missing. When did police arrive on scene, and when did the searches begin? Because from what I've read online, it looks like the organized searching did not start until the following day.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot of times when you hear of a missing persons case, you hear this story of like trying to get taken seriously and trying to get a response. This story isn't one of those. When the call was made to the police just after 10 a.m., I think it was within like 25 minutes that the first cops were on site. And shortly after that, a specialized, I guess it was a specialized unit that operates a drone and assists in missing persons cases was on scene. And they hit the ground running. As soon as this call was made, it was taken seriously. And one way we know, and we're not just saying that, we can hear that, because one thing that surfaced online is recordings of the emergency dispatch radios. They were using a kind of radio that was used by like fire teams and stuff, and again, in search and rescue in this area. So the public had access to the 911 dispatchers calling the police. They were all using this public radio, and it was all recorded. So you can hear the dispatcher talking back and forth with the different units that are on the ground searching. You can hear them calling the police and trying to get the pictures of the children out to the press. You can hear them arranging more units to come and assist in the search. And I can say, with everything I've listened to, it was an all hands on deck search starting Friday.
I'm very critic to the Canadian law enforcement when we talk about missing children here. I remember the case of Cedrica Provencher. The Amber Alert was never issued. I know that law enforcement, they need proof to issue an Amber Alert. They need to know that the children were kidnapped, but I think we are not learning about the previous mistakes. In this case, it was the same. They didn't issue an Amber Alert. I know that they don't have proof that the children were kidnapped, but it has to be another type of strategy, some different alert just to close the borders, just to be able to stop some potential kidnapper, even if they don't have any proof. But on the other hand, I have to accept that in this case, they were using a lot of tools to try to find the children. Thermal drones, helicopters, the searchers, of course. There were, I don't know, more than 200 volunteers here, dogs searching the children. So it's like a 50-50, let's say, but it's not perfect, but it's an improvement, let's say. So let's continue here with the video.
Friday at around noon, I think there was something like 40 searchers on the scene that afternoon.
And that grew to 100 the next day, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah. Like after the first night of those kids being in the woods Friday night, Saturday morning, it was already huge news. And that's when we started seeing teams of upwards of 150 trained volunteer searchers, helicopters, drones, search dogs. And they were also like, and it wasn't just helicopters buzzing around, like looking down in the woods. They were using like high-tech equipment. They were using like heat-sensitive cameras so they could get a sense of where something was in the woods based on its heat signature. And then they would send a team to search that area, you know, but hoping that it'd be the children. I'm sure they're like, in the end, they were probably chasing foxes and deers through this forest, but it's that was the kind of search methodology they used. But as the days and nights stretched on with no news of anyone being found, that's really when the online discourse surrounding this case boiled over to what it is now, which is just an utter mess, to put it lightly.
And I also just want to jump in here because I know there's going to be people asking, why was an Amber Alert not issued? And a lot of people don't realize that an Amber Alert is only issued when authorities have reasonable grounds to assume that somebody was abducted. We'll get more into the abduction theory later because I know stepdad thinks that these two children were abducted, but it seems like police have no hard evidence to go down that line of suspicion
Amber
yet.
Alerts have very certain criteria, and I wish more people would understand this because I see this all the time. Like, but it's like if they know the individual that the kid is with, or if they have a car, there's like very certain parameters. Then they can issue an Amber Alert. They can't just issue an Amber Alert if it's not like an abduction, if they don't, if they think it's just a missing person or whatever. But,
I know, and I almost wish the parameters weren't.
I understand that, but I don't think that two children are missing at the same time very often in Nova Scotia. This is something very particular, very out of the ordinary. So I think they can make like an exception, in my opinion. I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong. I would expect to have the issuance of an Amber Alert here, but it was not the case.
So tight because I think
but then it's a different thing, right? Like it's not. Or the Amber program was like passed by by a certain like certain reasons that came into play. So if we want to create other alerts, we have to create other like Silver Alert and that kind of thing. We have to
like if everything becomes an Amber Alert, we'll need some new thing for when it's and with an Amber Alert, it needs to be proof of an abduction, but you also need identifying information on the abductor, like a make and a model of a car. So if every missing child, and you'll see people online saying every case should be an Amber Alert, but then how do you prioritize the ones where you have a certain person you're looking for?
You're right, Annalisette. That area was hit by a hurricane a couple of years ago, so the terrain is very, very rough. according to the testimony of the parents, the boots of the children were found just next to the sliding door of the mobile house, let's say. So that's an indication that if that's true, that they were walking out from the house, they were just walking without any shoes, any boots, so they couldn't go too far away from the house. So, and as you say, if that terrain was just very rough because there was a hurricane hitting the area, I don't see the children walking into the forest, into that wooden area. The option I can see here, or I can see two options. One is that the children were walking toward the highway and someone kidnapped the children, or this case is related to the family or to someone close to the family. I don't see any other option. I would discard any possibility of an accident. If we talk about the disappearance of just one child, I would understand that an accident is gonna be on the table. But when we think about the disappearance of two children, an accident is gonna be very, very unlikely. So I don't know. Let's continue with the video, and I'm gonna come back to the chat in a couple of minutes, guys.
Yeah,
That's on the highway.
Literally heading for the border,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what you're trying to address, right? And I do want to hop in here because, like, for us, we had in British Columbia, we had a Lily go missing as well in Chilliwack, and so Lily was. I'm just going to pull it up here. It was on May 1st, 2025, around 4 p.m. 6-year-old Lily Corsall went missing near her home in Chilliwack, British Columbia. Now, it turns out that she had followed two neighborhood dogs into a wooded area, but she didn't return with the dogs. The dogs came back. They didn't bring Lily back with her. Now, her grandmother noticed that she was absent. She initiated a search despite the extensive efforts by the family. They couldn't find her, so they called RCMP and search and rescue. Now, remarkably, she was found the next day.
Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt again. Just to answer to Annalise here, what kind of water is in that area? Rivers, ponds. What I understand is that the water situation there is lakes. There's a lot of lakes. So if you are searching a lake, it's gonna be very, very easy to find the children. It's different when we talk about a river where when there's a stream. In that case, it's gonna be like more complicated. But in this area, we are talking about lakes, and what I understand is that the law enforcement, they searched the lakes and they didn't find anything there. So I don't think the children drowned into the lake, in my opinion. So again, I would discard, or I would say that the possibility of an accident is really unlikely here.
At 3:54 p.m. And here's the thing is, like, I know that people are like, how far can a young person get? How far can a kid get, right? And she had gone 700 meters away from her house, so a kilometer away from her house in thick Pacific Northwest forest and brush. But you know, luckily she was found alive. She was she was very animated and funny when she came out of the forest and stuff like that. So, and she's small too, so I could see, you know, a child being scared in the middle of the night in the forest and just crouching down in like a, you know, beside a tree or something like that, and just waiting until the.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt again. I understand your comment, Annalise, but when you are talking about one single child, it is going to be easier to consider the accident theory. But when you have two missing children, to me, this is really unlikely, because let's say if one of the children is into the water, the other one is just gonna go out to find any help. He's not gonna go into the water to help the other children. I think it's unlikely, because he's gonna be in the same dangerous situation. So when we are talking about two children, to me the accident theory is really unlikely, unless if we want to extrapolate the situation here with drugs. Let's say if they were drugs in that mobile house, and the children by accident they took some drugs and they died because of that. But this is a very wild speculation. It's not impossible, but this is the only accident I can see here. But any other type of accident, I would discard it. So let's continue.
Morning or whatever. But again, like, she wasn't found until the afternoon. But it's, that was the story when we first heard about Jack and Lilly going missing. I was like, well, isn't that weird? This is going to be the exact same sort of thing. They're going to find these poor kids, 24 hours later. But it seems that just did not happen, despite a very extensive search.
A search that went on and on. It was like a full week of searching. And in fact, right now, we're recording this Sunday, the 18th. About a week ago, they scaled back, quote unquote, scaled back or stopped searching.
Yeah.
But this weekend, they restarted the search. So the team of 150 or so search and rescue people, supported by helicopters and dogs and drones, were searching the forest again this weekend, now over 2 weeks later. And I think that's really surprising.
Which is really interesting to me, because it's like, did they get information that led them back out there?
Or are they feeling pressure from the media and from the public?
Is the public upset? Because I know the public was really, really upset online when they decided to scale it back.
Yeah, but it's true. But I don't know if they would let public pressure, if that would motivate them to send, 150 people into the woods doing more grid searches. But if it was a tip, let's say that encouraged them to search, again, you wouldn't need all those people. If somebody gave some tip of where something may be, you'd think it'd just be a couple cops that would go out there and check for it, not 150 people doing a grid search. So I think it's really surprising. But just one thing about this case that I think makes it different than so many other missing persons or missing children cases is the fact that there's two of them. So much of this is unprecedented. If two children wander off, or if one child wanders off and they're not found, something happened. They fell in a well. An animal attack or something may have happened. But if there's two of them,
an animal attack is gonna be unlikely as well, or it could be likely because this is a very wooded area. We know that there are bears in Nova Scotia, but if an animal attack was on the table, we should see some type of signs. I don't know, bones, footprints from the bears, something like that. So it's still possible, but I would say it's very unlikely. Cold Truth, she says that some type of alert should be issued, even if not an Amber Alert, something fitting some type of different criteria. I agree 100% with your Cold Truth, 100%.
It makes all of that so much more improbable. If one of the children fell in an old well, let's say, the other one wouldn't jump down there to help them. They would run home and get help. If one of them fell in water, maybe the other one tried to help them and went in there as well. But more than likely, they wouldn't both end up drowning, you would think. But all that said, water is another kind of mystery in this story. Is there is a lot of water in the area where the two children went missing, but it's not rivers and running water. It's like lakes, which generally isn't going to hide human remains for long.
No.
And most of the large bodies of water in this area have been searched by divers at this point.
Yeah.
And that's how this one differs from, like, many listeners will know the story of Dylan Ehler. This happened 5 years ago. I mean, I think we're at the 5-year anniversary
Yeah.
of that case. It was May 6, 2020. 3-year-old Dylan Ehler vanished from his grandmother's backyard in Truro, Nova Scotia. His grandmother, Dorothy Parsons, reported that Dylan was playing outside with the family dog when he disappeared, and despite the immediate search efforts, only his rubber boots were found in a nearby brook, leading authorities to believe that he may have fallen into the water. And that brook was like a pretty high, like, raging river brook that led to a much larger river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the similarities between these two stories, Jack and Lilly and Dylan Ehler's, are just unmistakable and quite chilling. Where Dylan disappeared from in Truro is about an hour away from Pictou. So for all intents and purposes, it's pretty similar. Both.
Cold Truth is asking about the temperature of that day into the first night. I would say during the day in Nova Scotia at this time of the year is going to be maybe 15 Celsius degrees. And during the night, of course, the temperature is going to drop maybe till 0 degrees. I need to look into the exact information, but I'm sure it's going to be in that range. Maybe 0 degrees at that time of the year to confirm, but it's going to be very, very cold during the night. It's not going to be maybe negative, but maybe 0 or around 0 for sure. It's a good question.
Both disappearances, Dylan Ehler's as well as Jack and Lilly's, seem to have occurred in a short period of time during a moment of inattention by their caregiver. In Dylan's case, his grandmother, who was looking after him, said to have turned her back to him to, like, put the dog on the leash. She turned back and he's gone. Where in Jack and Lily's case, they were just in the other room, and there's various stories of how they got outside, but most likely slid out the patio door seems to be kind of the consensus.
Yeah.
Jack and Lilly were both said to be going through the process of being tested or diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum, as was Dylan, is my understanding.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And the big difference, though, is Jack and Lilly are 2 kids. Dylan Ehler is 1 kid. The online discussion that followed, in Dylan Ehler's case, his parents actually took administrators of a Facebook group to court for defamation and were successful in their suit. And that it was a result of so many people going after Dylan's parents for, like, accusing them. The same thing is happening with Jack and Lily's parents. It's the same online discourse. The parents have been villainized in this. And I've seen stuff so ugly and disturbing, I wouldn't even repeat it. But let's just say that there are people all over the world that are joining up together on Facebook to.
So, just to do a quick stop here to see your comment, guys. Dr. Grant is awesome. I agree. In my previous video, I shared the thoughts of Dr. Grant. He's awesome. And again, I think there are just maybe 3 theories here. Theory number 1, the guys who actually went out that day and there was an accident. To me, that was unlikely. That's really unlikely. Other possibilities that there were some type of kidnapping from someone not very close to the family, some stranger, is still a possibility. From the pictures I can see, and I did the measurement of the distance between the house and the highway. It's like around 50 meters, so it's not a long distance for the children to walk. And if they were walking from the house to the highway, it is still a possibility that some stranger kidnapped the children. And of course, the other possibility is that the situation is related to the family or to someone close to the family. There are some rumors that there was a party the days before of the reporting of the disappearance of the children, sorry, in that house. I don't know if this is an exact or accurate information. I have to see the actual source of that. But if that was actually something factual, that could be something to put into the table. I don't know. So three possibilities: an accident, a kidnapping related to some stranger, or a disappearance related to the family or to someone close to the family. This is still a mystery. Of course, we don't have the whole information about the case. Maybe law enforcement, they figured out already what happened. I hope that is going to be the case. But there are a lot of unanswered questions so far. It's really weird that the mother of the children left the area. She's not there anymore. We know that the baby that was there at the time of the disappearance of the other two children, he's in the CPS, Children Protection Services, and she's not close to the baby. So what's going on there is maybe she's working with law enforcement, giving some information. I don't know. At this time, it's full speculation. I don't know. It's something to wait. We need to wait for more information, for more evidence. Anyways, tougher. Yeah. There were, Lenny, there were 2 alerts. Vulnerable person. Okay. Thank you for the information. Lenny, are you from Nova Scotia? I would like to know if you are from Nova Scotia. I'm going to drop the link here. If you want to call, please call. It's going to be cool to talk to you. I think you are a local, so if you have some information about the case, this is going to be awesome. Analyset. Just 1 second, guys. Here, I have deep, dark thoughts about what happened to these children. As I understand, 11 people have gone missing in Nova Scotia in the past 4 years. Yeah, and this is a big area with not too many people. So, interesting thought, of course. Just reporting. Cryptex was not saying that happened, making a point. No, I understood, for sure. Hiawatha is here. I didn't see Hiawatha. What was the Hiawatha's comment? Okay. I want to see Hiawatha's comment. Yeah, okay. I thought it was Analyset, but it was Hiawatha. Thank you. So Hiawatha is here. It's easy to figure out Celsius to Fahrenheit. The formulas are not too difficult. To me, are difficult. I always use a calculator or Google units conversion, let's say. Yeah, of course, instant results. It was never easy to me to do that conversion. I'm from Colombia, so we use meters, Celsius. We don't use feet as you use, guys, in US. We don't use Fahrenheit, so my brain is crazy when you talk about feet or when you talk about Fahrenheit. Anyways, Michelle. Oh, Georgie Girl is here. I could be wrong, but my understanding is that the stepdad's mother kicked her out due to her family accusing him. Actually, is the opposite. I think that the owner of that mobile house is the mother of the step dad. So after that disagreement, or after that argument, they kicked out the mother. I may be wrong, but that is my understanding. 50 meters is 55 yards. Okay. Iwata. I'm not sure I know some are. Someone commented in Michelle After Dark's live this morning. I was watching the live of Michelle After Darks, but I think some information that was presented there is not very factual. So I don't want to go there. Let me go here, guys, a little bit. So I'm gonna continue with the video. Yeah. We're gonna come back to the chat.
To just riff about how rotten these parents are and all of the horrible things they probably did to Jack and Lilly. And so much of their attacks on Jack and Lily's stepfather and mom are based on misinformation and things psychics said on YouTube and just complete nonsense. After weeks of searching using cutting-edge technology, 150 plus trained search and rescue volunteers, that nothing at all has come back, with the exception of one maybe child's boot print deep in the forest.
Yeah, so that boot print was found on May 5th, 2025. So that's 2 days after they initially went missing, and it was deep in the woods. And then the day before that was the first time that stepdad spoke to the media, and that's kind of when he says what happened that morning, that Lily came into the bedroom multiple times. They were playing out in the kitchen. I'm guessing they slid open the backsliding door. It's almost like silent to hear it sliding.
Yeah, he described the back patio door as being one that when you open it, just for whatever reason, it just glides well. So it's not this loud, clunky thing that would make you from the bedroom be like, oh, the kids are opening the door to go outside. But rather than us talk about what he said, let's hear from him. I have a recording of, this is him speaking to the news for one of the first times, going in detail of what happened. Here's Daniel Martel.
We were searching. We covered everywhere possible. Even in the first day we did. Even with me running through the woods, I was ahead of the helicopters and ahead of the drones and stuff like that. Screaming as loud as I can, just until my throat hurt. Running through water that was up to my waist. And as soon as I got back, I wasn't allowed back in the woods until a man dressed in a military outfit said I could go back into the woods.
4 days into the search for his missing stepkids, Lily and Jack Sullivan, Daniel Martel is pleading with the public to keep their eyes peeled, but he has begun to lose hope they are anywhere in the vicinity.
They hate being wet and cold, so they immediately would have came right back into the house. The only two prints are right beside the house facing the road, and then that's it.
Martel wants the search to be extended to include provincial borders in case the children were abducted, a reality he says is becoming more and more likely.
Post any officers they can get, have the New Brunswick border, PI border, and get them at every airport possible.
Martel confirmed that when the two children went missing from the home behind me, Lily was wearing a pink shirt and pink rain boots. She was also carrying a white backpack with strawberries on it. Martel says although he didn't see Jack that morning, he is believed to be wearing a brown shirt, brown pants with a pull-up diaper on underneath, and blue rain boots with dinosaurs on them. He also refuted the claim that the two children are nonverbal, saying while they are on the autism spectrum, they are quite trusting and say hi to everyone. According to Martel, his side of the family are currently the only ones at ground zero after Lily and Jack's mother left the county Saturday. But still, he remains, begging anyone with answers to come forward and bring his children home safe.
Anybody who has any information, or you think you've seen something or hear something, or any messages from friends about hearing something, just contact your local police services. Anything, guys, anything.
So in hearing that, that's him kind of describing the moments after realizing they weren't missing. But that news clip brings up a really interesting point, is that after the day after the children went missing, that Saturday, something happens that leads to a breakdown of the relationship between Daniel and Malaya, which leads to Malaya leaving with her family and the baby to live in another part of the province. And I don't know if he said it in that news clip, but he's been public with the fact that he hasn't talked to her since, and she actually blocked him on Facebook. So whatever is going on led to a breakdown. We know a little bit about it because Daniel, the stepfather, he spoke to the media pretty much throughout this whole thing. He's been open in giving information to the media about the search efforts and what's going on behind the scenes. But his story to the Globe and Mail was that the Saturday, the first full day of the search after the kids went missing, Malaya's family from another part of the province showed up to, I guess, support them and maybe assist in the search and look after the baby and whatnot. But something happened at the home that led to her family accusing him of being responsible for whatever happened to the kids. In the course of defending himself, a verbal altercation broke out, which led to Daniel's mother, who I believe owns the property that he lives in, kicking Malaya and her family off of the property. So they take the baby and leave to another part of Nova Scotia. She blocks him from Facebook. And since that day, the day after the search began, it's just been him there talking to the media. I'm sure, like, we don't know what's happening with her. I can only assume she's speaking to the RCMP behind the scenes, but not talking to him, not talking to the media. In fact, Malaya, the children's mother, she has only given, as far as I can tell, one interview with the media. And it's a very short clip where she just appears completely broken and disheveled and only appears for, I think, maybe 10, 15 seconds. You want to listen to that, and then we can talk about both statements?
Yeah, let's play that now.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home.
That is it.
That's it. Wow.
But when you and I think that was recorded the next day as well. She looks like she doesn't look like she had slept, to put it lightly. But it's throughout this, we heard in the clip that I played from Daniel, he talks about, my family and I have been here involved in this, and her family are gone off. And it's a lot of people, of course, have made assumptions about what's going on, but I don't think, we don't know enough to really use that information in what happened to these two children. But in my mind, as I try to think this out, I think it was a unique week at the home because the children missed 2 days of school after an in-service day. So they're home with the baby and the two kids for 3 days straight. The children are reported missing Friday. On Saturday, after a 2-year relationship that involves having a kid together, they break up that next day.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, we've covered a lot of missing persons cases, and it is, I would say, rare for the parents of a missing child to stay together.
But not this fast. Like,
no,
the breakup
not this
is
fast.
usually
It
like
usually
6
takes
years
years
later. Yeah.
But it is insane how often this breaks relationships down, this type of situation. And it sounds like this is a newer relationship, right? They have a 16-month-old child.
2 years.
Together.
2 years.
And these are two young individuals. I'm not sure how old they both are.
I don't know their ages, but I would say late 20s.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe the altercation at home was just, it was so emotional. There are two people who are grieving.
Yeah.
They're high emotions. They just needed to get away from each other in that
when
moment.
blame starts getting put around,
Right.
like, that's kind of tough. Like, I mean, that's like, it's not time for blame. Although, blame probably gets tossed around pretty early.
It does,
why did you do this or that or whatever? Like,
I asked you to look at watch the kids while I watched the baby, or whatever happened that morning, right? We don't know.
But when you look online or any kind of the discourse around this case, Malaya is being judged heavily for leaving, and you just
a quick stop here. And I said, if they are First Nations Amerindians, what is the chance that they could have been taken, adopted by extended family? That's a really good question. And from my understanding, their race is what we can call indigenous, let's say. Here in Canada, the word that we use for the natives, let's say, is First Nations. But when I see the children, they don't look like Amerindians or indigenous people, or I don't know. They really look like normal Canadian original people, let's say. I don't know, but you have a good point. And here in Canada, the First Nations areas, let's say, they are protected. So it's not like it's like a separate territory, you know. So law enforcement, they cannot go into that area because it's really protected by the law. So if they are there, if the children are actually there in the First Nation territory, it's gonna be more complicated to find the children. But on the other hand, you know that people are gossip. Is very hard to keep a secret. So if in that territory the children are already there, to me it's unlikely that the information is not gonna be leaked. I don't know if you understand my point here.
Commenters would say things like, if it was my kids, I'd be out there searching. And I understand that, but at the same time, when it's an organized search and rescue team, they're not allowing a mother in shock to be running through the woods, trampling all over the area
No.
that they're about to conduct a
No.
grid search.
The
They
way
would want her
people
gone.
the way people talk on Facebook is like, I would do anything for my kids. I'm like, yeah, no, I absolutely agree that you probably would do that. And you wouldn't be being dragged around by search and rescue through tough terrain. Like how fit are you? You know, like it's like people like, yeah, they'll do
But not
anything
even
for their
that.
kids. They're like a mama bear. They're going to get it done or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's all fair and good. But we're talking about like thousands of kilometers of forested area.
But
Like
the search is also, they want to be organized. It's a grid search.
Yeah.
So they don't want somebody who is not trained in that type of, educate. Like they don't have the education. They don't want a person out there emotionally acting because they might run out. Like if they see something, they might run, they might contaminate a scene. So they actually, a lot of the times, want family or close contacts of those individuals to not
sit at
partake in the
home.
search.
Yeah, I could imagine the conversation just to be like, Malaya, like, I know you want to help, but we got this and we're going to keep you in the loop every step of the way, but you're not helping us. You won't be able to help us by being out here.
No.
And I do want to add, like, that also goes to Facebook and PR etiquette. Like these families don't, like, we have worked with missing persons families for 5 years now, and they're not handed a handbook on how to handle things. Most people on social media are not very good at social media. They say a lot of crazy things. They post a lot of stuff. They antagonize people in comment sections. Like people say things that can be misinterpreted. So like if you put your, I'm not defending anybody. I'm just saying, like, put your feet in her shoes. She doesn't owe anybody a big fat statement or anything like that. She is not a social media marketing manager. She's not going to come up with a great PR campaign on how she's going to address this. Like, I know people are demanding statements, but that you're demanding of her is just an invitation to a conversation that she doesn't need to have. Like, she has missing children, and no matter what this turns out to be, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and the other
Like,
thing is like, she can give a statement or he can give more statements. But at the end of the day, people are going to sit there and pick it
shred
apart.
Yeah.
No matter what they say, there's always going to
Yeah.
be something that people are going to latch onto and take or interpret. You know what I mean? So
I've seen people use past tense before. We've all seen this where
that happened in this case. The stepfather used past tense about what Jack loved to do.
Yeah.
And so people are like, see, he did it.
Yeah, but that's what he means is at the time I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like he loved to collect rocks. He is thinking back to a day which is in the past where the child enjoyed collecting rocks. It's a slip of the tongue. It's not some like indication of guilt, but I see that one so often where it's like.
Just gonna stop a little bit here because I think that Michelle's comment is really interesting. That would make a lot of sense for mom leaving if she knew they were on native land. This is a big mystery. So the mom is leaving. We know that the 16 months year-old baby is in the CPS protection services. So she left the area. What are the possibilities here? One possibility is that she's working with law enforcement. She's giving some information to law enforcement, and she's maybe giving information against the stepdad. That's one option. The other option is that she's actually involved in this situation, in the disappearance of the children, and she left the area to avoid being I don't know, interviewed or arrested. I don't know, just to be out of the situation. So I don't know what's going on there, but it's really weird that a mother decides to go from far away from her baby. So still, we don't have enough information to conclude here, but I don't see any other option. Or he's being threatened by the family of the stepdad. It's a lot of speculation at this point. I don't know, but it's a very, very good question. Or if the children are in the First Nations territory, in the First Nations land, in the native land, maybe that's the area where she left. I don't know. It's a good question, and of course I don't have the answer at this point.
You know what? People use past tense, they use future tense, they use all kinds of tenses. Like, just relax.
Okay.
Like, it's not, you're not like an FBI,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. So on May 5th, a boot print was found. And then May 6th, and I understand, I want to say right now, I understand why people have questions in this case. I think until the children are found, people are going to have questions. But May 6th, police take Daniel Martel into the detachment where he's questioned for 4 hours, I believe.
And that's according to Daniel Martel. The reason we know about this is he told the Globe and Mail, like, I was in last night, talked for 4 hours. I volunteered my phone, my router. I'll take a lie detector test. I'll take a drug test, whatever you want. According to him,
they're easy on me because they know I'm telling the truth about everything. I believe was the quote.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if they've given him a polygraph, which I don't even think they'd make public if they did. Right.
I don't think so. And you hear so often they should give so-and-so a lie detector test, or I want a lie detector test. Very rarely do you hear of it actually happening because it's inadmissible anyway. It seems to be the ergatar of investigative techniques. And I think polygraphs are more so used like to call someone's bluff. Like if you think they're not being forthcoming, the cop may say like, what about a polygraph? Like, should we do that with you? Oh, no, forget it. I'll talk. But I think this is him saying, I want a polygraph because I want people to know that I'm not hiding anything. But we do know that the police did take his phone. They took the router from his home, like the internet router, because according to him, what they're trying to do is figure out which devices were in the yard and connecting to his home Wi-Fi and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. What I do know is that the investigation certainly has changed from the search, missing persons search and rescue type search in the forest to something altogether different. The police held a press conference where they announced the scaling back of the search for the children, and they didn't pull any punches. They said themselves, if we thought the children could still be alive out there, we'd still be searching.
And I believe that was May 13th that they issued that big statement where they announced they were kind of pulling back on it. But at that same time, they said, that they have received more than 180 tips, which, by the way, is a lot of work for those police officers to go through.
Cold Truth. The name of the podcast is Nighttime Podcast, just like that. Nighttime Podcast. I'm gonna put the link in the description of this streaming when I finished. But that really they're really good, very intelligent people, equilibrated, not into drama, not into gossip. I really like the way they are covering this case for sure.
Each tip needs to be vetted and needs to be documented, and there needs to be evidence of this. These are the actions that we took as a result of this tip. So like it could be just information only, or or the individual was high risk, they indicated high risk. There's different reasons why they will, but they just have to show the documentation. So when the final file around this is complete, those tips will be included in there and what actions were taken. So those tips
and they have
actually
to be very,
slow investigators down.
In
But
fact,
they're right. We love tips.
Yeah,
if
we
you
love
have
tips,
information,
but-
bring them forward. But just know that they create a lot of paperwork for police. They have to show their work on all of those tips. And I think they also, from those tips and whatever other police work they've done, they've so far identified 35 people that they'd like to formally interview, including community members and those, quote, closest to the children. So,
yeah. And of course, we don't know who these 35 people are. I'm sure we can guess who some of them are, would be the, direct family, parents, grandparents. A big question mark in this case, at least online, and one in my head as well, is Lily and Jack were not the biological children of Daniel Martel. He was their stepfather. So their biological father, is he in the picture? Is he involved in their life in any way? We haven't heard any statement from the RCMP or any direct statements related to that, but that's his identity or his role in this.
Just a quick pause here, guys. I don't understand what are you talking in the chat about the artificial intelligences. I'm lost in the conversation, so if someone can give me some hint just to understand what are you talking about, is going to be appreciated.
Gets brought up a lot in the various conversations that are playing out, but all that to say, like the RCMP have never really wavered on their belief that, or even have never wavered on the type of language they use as we're investigating this as children who likely wandered away from home. They have never come out and said, this is now a homicide investigation or foul play. They've always said,
I think they did use the word suspicious today.
What they said is every missing persons case is suspicious until we decide it isn't. But this, at least publicly, they've talked incessantly about these children who wandered off that they're searching for.
Misadventure is what it's looking.
Now again,
until they have a criteria to change that language, which fits like certain boxes are ticked off, and then it becomes this is a major investigation now.
We are recording this May 18th, 2025. And as you mentioned, Jordan, the search was scaled back last week or a week ago, kind of today-ish. But this weekend, for reasons unknown, they decided to begin the search again, resume it again. It's in the same location.
Same location, full-scale search. And that is a complete shock to me. They issued a press release on Friday, the RCMP, a news release, stating that the search will begin anew tomorrow in the same area, the same kind of 150-ish search and rescue people appearing to do a grid search again in the same area, which is a shock to me. When I heard the search will be beginning again, I assumed there must be some kind of tip. But if
new information. There has to be new information.
But it doesn't. But if there was, it would be a targeted search based on this new information, not just.
No. They are not an artificial intelligence at all. I was watching one of the live streamings they made yesterday, and they are awesome. It's like 3 people there, all of them from Nova Scotia, one girl, one guy, and another guy. This is not artificial intelligence at all. Not at all, guys. This is not green stuff. This is a very serious channel and a very interesting channel, in my opinion. So forget about it. It's not an artificial intelligence here. You can see that they're doing some lives from time to time. I don't know why they deleted the live streaming they made yesterday. It was really, really cool, and today is like it's deleted. I was interacting with them yesterday, but they deleted. I don't know why. So it's not an artificial intelligence situation here, guys.
So let's go back where we were before and continue what we called off last week. And it would, like, the search would even be harder now because every day that passes, like it's just becoming spring here in Nova Scotia. So it's going to be a little thicker now than it would have been, a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it says, this is from 3 hours ago on CTV News by Paul Hollingsworth. There's a portion in this news article here that says, in addition to suspecting foul play, kidnapping has not been ruled out.
Mhm.
So it looks, of course, in any missing persons case, especially when there's two children involved, they're not going to rule anything out until they have located these children, hopefully alive. But at this point, I think a lot of people realize that that's an unlikely outcome.
And I mean, that opens the conversation to the theory of were they abducted? And it's,
And you have to help me here, J. Ray, about that comment, because actually I'm not able to make the difference between the accent of the Nova Scotia Anglophone people and American people. Of course, because of my origins, it's hard to do that differentiation. Let's say that to make that difference. But I would love to know your opinion. If I understand well, you mean that the Nova Scotia accent is similar to the American accent? I just want to learn with you guys here, because USA is like a continent. Every state, you have different accents. And of course, Canada is another continent. So just curious about your opinions.
We know that that child abductions or stranger abductions are incredibly rare.
Not impossible.
Not impossible, rare.
Highly unlikely, especially in an area like this. When you have a stranger abduction in Canada, it's generally in a metropolitan area, not rural Nova Scotia. At 9:30 in the morning.
Sorry again for the interruption, but regarding your comment here, Annalisette, Grino is making some weird videos about Delphi, and he's putting conversations with Keegan Klein, Rishi Davis, Chadwell, and those are artificial intelligence voices, and he's pretending to sell that material as if it's an actual or a factual interviews or conversations, and it's really, really fake. And it's very easy to detect that is super fake. Sorry, this was like a private joke or conversation here. It's not related to Nova Scotia, but I just wanted to make the point. Let's continue here.
Morning on a Friday.
And I really want people to understand, these people don't have neighbors. Mm-hmm. This is like a trailer in the middle of a forest in a very secluded rural part of Nova Scotia.
Yeah, and we have reason. We don't know for sure, but I'm comfortable putting this out there. We have a reason to believe that the one highway that this home sits on, that the police have information on every vehicle that passed by the home that morning. The reason I say that is during the, I mentioned earlier how they had the dispatch radio communications from that morning. One of the dispatcher receives a call from a neighbor, like someone who lives further up the road, who volunteered, if you need any information on vehicles that passed that today, I can give you that information.
Well, you just got a call from a Justin Smith who lives close by to where you guys are now. He said he can talk to members about any vehicles that passed on the Highway 289. If you guys need to get a hold of him, I can always send this number down to you guys if needed.
And I thought, how would they know that? But then I thought of, I have a video doorbell, and every time a car goes by, I get a 15-second video of that car. So I wonder if it's something like that, and they thought, maybe this could help the investigation.
Or maybe there's cameras on that quote quiet highway nearby. I don't know.
So that, dear listener, is good information. That is helpful information to the RCMP. Not like the other thing that came in, which was people saying that they were having a wild party 2 nights earlier. And Jordan, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Love
because
to get
you've
into
come to the bottom of that. So just so the listeners are aware, there's speculation online that the parents had some party, and Jordan has been able to isolate where that actual information came from.
Yeah, it's actually quite disturbing, and it's something that has come up is this idea that the night before the kids went missing, the Thursday night, that there was this wild drug-fueled party at the parents' home that would explain why they were in bed so late. There was all these people coming and going. And this idea of a party just became a part of the conversation. So many theories and speculation and just discussion online were talking about this party as if it was a fact, as if the RCMP released photos of this party happening, like it was that kind of concrete of a thing. But when I dug into it, and I've been following this story from the very beginning, when I dug into it, what it actually is in a major Facebook group that was discussing this case at the time, you could post anonymously. Somebody posted anonymously, and they shared a screenshot of a text conversation that they said they were having with a neighbor who lives near the children who went missing. And if you read the text conversation that they shared anonymously, it basically said, I drove by there a few days ago. I don't know if it was Wednesday or Tuesday or Thursday, but it was around 2 p.m. and there was a whole bunch of cars out front. Maybe they were having a party or something.
So hold on. So this was an anonymous poster, red flag number 1.
Mm-hmm.
A text conversation between 2 people who claim to be neighbors, but could actually be just anybody on the internet.
They said themselves in the text, they said, I live just 500 meters from there. So I should say there is not a home within 500 meters of there. But
no, do we even have an address on, what is the road called again?
It's on Gerlach Road.
Yeah. Do we have an official
so just to wrap that little piece up. So this individual shares a screenshot of a conversation that they had on Messenger as fact that there was some sort of party, but it turns out the party, quote unquote, is just some cars parked at 2:00 in the afternoon on maybe Wednesday or maybe Thursday.
Exactly.
So that turns into a Thursday night rager, drug-fueled party,
and the kids
go missing. Yeah. So it's just like that. And again, I just want to highlight the person who offered their Ring camera footage and said, I can identify cars. Good citizen, good, helpful citizen. The person who said, I may have seen some cars parked there at 2:00 in the afternoon on maybe Wednesday or Thursday, not helpful.
If it's even real.
It's helpful. If you saw cars there, sure, great. But assuming that means that there was a raging drug-fueled party, not helpful.
Well, it just shows how sketchy or completely fake information can get built up on and spun out of control. And so, and where it really gets ugly is I found YouTube videos and TikTok videos where people are talking specifically about this party. YouTube videos where this party was the topic of a 2-hour-long conversation that points the finger at the parents for being involved, that have in videos that have hundreds of thousands of views. So it's just this fake piece of information that is salaciously shared and just becomes a major part of the story. And I think there are a lot of people who want to know what's happening and want to try to understand how these kids went missing. And in the absence of information, that void can be filled by these bottom feeders. And there is a lot of that happening in this story.
So has this, I may not have noticed this, but has this case, because that doesn't sound like, that sounds like a more, like we all kind of know who's in the true crime space in Canadian podcasting and stuff like that. And we know that some of the crime talkers and stuff like that, but like, has this case hit American YouTube? Is that's
that's exactly what it is. It's this case is gone past people like us who are discussing Canadian crime to people who are discussing international tragedy. Like for example, the channel that I just mentioned that did a video with hundreds of thousands of views specifically about the party and its effect on this case. When I looked at their channel, a lot of what they covered before the videos about Lilly and Jack Sullivan were about the royal family.
What do you think, guys, about that potential party? That party that happened just before the disappearance of the children. It reminds me a little bit of the John Bennett Ramsey case. Remember that before the murder of John Bennett, there was a party. That was Christmas time, of course, but and there's a difference. John Bennett, the John Bennett's case is about one single child. Here we have two children. But again, it's interesting if there was a party before the disappearance of the children. I don't know what are the possibilities here. Something happened to the children during that party. I don't want to provide my crazy theories that I already have in my mind. But imagine that a mobile house. I know that we shouldn't judge too much about that, but it really looks like a junky. How can we say? It's not very familiar. I don't know. I don't want to go there, but anyways, let's say there was a party there, and the children were there, and something happened in that party to the children. That's why they took like 3 days before reporting the disappearance of the children. I don't know. I know I'm speculating, but when I try to connect the dots, it's something that is interesting, at least. But I know it's not factual information. So I want to know if there was actually a party there, which day, 1 day before, 2 days before of the date the children were reported missing, because this is a very interesting element in this case, if this is a factual information. But there are rumors that a party was conducted in that house, and I don't want to go with more rumors because we can go wild with the theories here.
In the Diddy trial, so it's these people who just cover, whatever clickbaity stuff they can put out there, and the story of 2 missing children and the parents who maybe did it. Right. That's an easy sell when you're on TikTok and YouTube and everything else.
Right. People want sexy and salacious clickbaity headlines, which is, I mean, look, I understand there's 2 kids missing. People have a lot of questions. People have suspicions, and that's completely fine.
Yeah.
And I think you can have these discussions at the dinner table with your family, with your friends. When I think it becomes inappropriate is when you're having these kind of finger pointy conversations on the internet where these people or people who know these people can see these comments.
Yeah.
And these are real people who have lost their children. I don't know what's going on with I don't know if they have been abducted. We don't know if these parents are guilty. I
understand your point, J. Roy, but I really don't want to go there, but I'm just trying to imagine the situation in my mind. Let's see. Let's imagine a party there, and there's drugs, and there are 2 children in the middle of that crazy party. If someone was into children, maybe something happened there, or if the children, they took some drugs by accident and they were overdosed, maybe that's the whole situation here. Maybe they died because they were taking some drugs by accident. I know I'm being really wild and irresponsible, but I'm just trying to formulate some hypothesis here. Maybe it's wild, but I'm just trying to answer to your question here. You know what I mean?
I don't think they're guilty. I think this is a case of misadventure. I don't know how you feel.
My thought is, if two kids are going to go missing, I'm going to give their parents the benefit of a doubt until my.
Yeah, and again, this is a good point. Just reporting. If that party situation is just a rumor, yeah, good point. It's not something that is being confirmed so far. But, you know, when there's smoke in the air, it's because there was fire. So, I don't know. Let's see. Let's wait for some factual information, of course.
I wouldn't make that decision or even give an opinion on that at this point. Unless I knew that something shady was going on with the parents, I wouldn't create something that pointed a finger at them. And what you just said, Kate, about this idea about these conversations could be had at a dinner table, but not online. The difference as well is not only are these conversations happening online, a lot of these conversations are happening online to massive audiences with ads inserted in them.
100%.
And we should also mention too, for if you have listeners outside of Canada, they may not realize that on a lot of social media, well, Instagram and Facebook, you cannot, the Canadian news sites can't publish their content there because our government is in a battle with Meta about how Meta reimburses media. So because our mainstream media and professional journalists can't put the story out there, Wacko Johnson with his YouTube channel can put a video there, can put his video on YouTube and share it to Facebook with a caption that says, undeniable evidence points finger at stepfather.
We can't even share a link, like just so what people outside of Canada understand. Like we can't.
It's so dystopian. Do you explain it?
And to say like, hey, no, CTV said this is debunked. I can't put. I have to screenshot it and put it up, or
as a picture,
or
not
I have
a link.
to copy and paste it. It's crazy. Even sometimes trying to send a link through through a messaging direct message on Instagram doesn't work either. So it's like, so it's actually creating this vacuum, which is, I mean, a larger conversation.
And because I know there's a person in the audience listening right now, because you just said it's the people who are, talking about this and putting ads in the middle. Yes, there are going to be ads in the middle of this podcast episode, but we're not purposely spreading disinformation for clicks.
Yeah. The difference is,
I just want to, because I know there's somebody out there who's like,
of course, but the point I'm trying to make is, it's one thing for there to be ads in the middle of this, but imagine if we made the thumbnail something that would suggest we have this breaking information that you had to listen to because it was going to show you the parents did it. And we then had an hour-long conversation about a bunch of stuff that wasn't even true and had that filled with ads.
Yeah.
That's a different way to generate, to monetize misinformation.
Yeah.
And slander.
Two quick stories that really helped me through so when we first got into this space, there was one case that we covered, and I thought it was foul play 100%. But then I've spoken to 3 close people in the family, and all 3 people have a different perspective. Like one is misadventure, one is mental health, and one is maybe foul play. And then there was another case that we covered where I thought for sure it was foul play, but people were bringing in like cults. They were bringing in the ex-boyfriend, the boyfriend, the previous altercation, and it turned out that it was a suicide, and it was a female young mom. Like everybody was like, she would never do anything like that.
She just bought a new car.
Yeah, she had just bought a new car. She had all this. So it's just, the reason why I bring those up is not to tell those people's trauma. It's just to say, like, I was totally wrong. Like, and I work in this space. So it's actually those cases early on have helped me to stop being a speculator
and stop being so certain of my opinions.
Yeah, exactly. Stop being so certain. I don't need to be so certain. Like, very little is known. We know that for 2 weeks, some of the most trained professional people have been trying to find these 2 kids and haven't been able to find them. Like, that speaks. So we know that that's a fact. The best of the best of walking through the forest and looking for people can't find 2 kids who couldn't have gotten more than a kilometer. If we look at Lily from Chilliwack, she got 700 meters, which was considered very far for her age. And so yeah, we know these kids have not been found within that radius at this point. And then what else do we know aside from that?
Mm-hmm.
Is there
Yeah.
other disinformation, misinformation that has been making its way through the internet that you've seen that you'd like to maybe?
There is so much of disinformation, misinformation, and things that I just couldn't corroborate one way or another. One thing you'll see spoken about is this opinion that, or this idea that drugs were found in the house during the initial search. There's no information to suggest that to be true, but I see it over and over again. People talking about how drugs were found in the home.
Police
I have a
would never make that public. Like, let's say there was drug paraphernalia found in that home.
Mhm.
That's going to go on a text page in the file on their database,
certainly.
and they're not going to make that public.
Certainly.
You know-
That's something I see written over and over again. And it seems to be written often in the context of, and then at the party,
Right.
you know, and people will use that as this theory that, I don't know, the kids got into something they shouldn't have. There was drugs in the house. There is no evidence of any of that. If it didn't come from Daniel, the stepfather who talks to the news a lot, then I would say it's BS, because the RCMP, they have been.
Yes, I feel much better. Thank you for the question. I'm released.
More transparent than I'm used to seeing. They've been talking to the media a lot, issuing regular press releases, and they have to, because the public interest in this case is so high. They've been releasing a lot and sharing a lot, but they're not going to talk about the behind the scenes investigation. Anything like that, we're getting bits and pieces from Daniel talking to the media, saying probably more than someone should. But you know, the drugs, that is misinformation. Or if not, just an intentional lie someone put out there to slander the parents,
Right.
the party.
My question is, let's walk the garden path of that thought process. So let's say there was a party, there were drugs, the kids got into some drugs, they've still gone missing. So is the thought that they got into drugs, they overdosed, and the parents have gotten rid of the children? Is that like the...
Man, I could tell you so many theories that I've seen, not like 5 people talking about. I've seen theories that people are almost rooting for, as if it's the home team of their home hockey team. Like they're sure of this happening. What you just said, this idea that the kids got into something and the parents, stepfather and mother, are trying to hide it. This idea that they were sold off to pay off a drug debt. Lots of people believe that, but a lot of people also have this bizarre understanding of what human trafficking is and how that actually happens in Canada.
Yeah.
It's something that we've noticed. People really have a misunderstanding of how prevalent it is and how it works here.
I'm sure, you know, there are the shooting star cases where that may happen, but human trafficking generally isn't a 4 and a 6-year-old child scooped up from rural Nova Scotia and sold off to this like satanic pedophile ring. But some people think that's actually what happens.
A 14 to 18-year-old girl who is being absolutely love bombed with drugs, alcohol, and finances, and then eventually coerced after the love bombing ends into the sex trade, and then moved around North America. That's the reality of, like,
I mean, I'm not going to say anything's impossible,
but even like the sex trade or not, the human trafficking for children is like, so we believe that that a van pulled up to this rural home, or some car pulled up and took the children away to pay off what kind of drug debt? Like, how much are we talking about here?
These are theories by people who don't understand this stuff anyway. So the theories wouldn't get that involved. It's like, oh, it's drugs. They probably sold them.
But that's I like to bring those people. Okay, well, let's look at that deeper.
It dragged them into specifics. I love doing that. It's like, okay, well, tell me more about this.
Because it's easy to say that. It's easy to just say these words, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, oh, like, you know, it was a satanic ritual and they were a sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like, what evidence do you have of that other than you saw it on the TV one time?
Yeah, exactly. Or, well, it's like nowadays I saw it on YouTube, or, you know, of course, psychics pop up out of nowhere. So you see a lot of people referencing psychics, and somehow things psychics said will get meshed into the common, like the mainline discussion as well.
I'm laughing because I know you got an unkind message about psychics. I want to say, I believe that there are people out there who are differently abled. And there are some people out there, I don't know, Sure, I don't hate all psychics.
Kate's got her crystals in the window. She's got her cards.
Sure.
Like, so we have our,
Like,
we have our things.
Yeah. I'm not sure on all psychics. I think there are people who take advantage of these types of situations.
Yeah.
Who prey on people who are hurting and grieving in that type of world. That being said, I'm not laughing at all psychics. I'm not blanket statementing all of those people. However, somebody reached. Can you tell us what they said to you? Because I merch.
Yeah, and I will tell you, my grandmother was a palm reader. She does tea leaves as well. I'm in that world, but the issue I have is the person who creates a YouTube channel or a TikTok channel, and what they do is just find what the big tragedy is and try to talk to the people involved in it and make these meandering videos where they're saying nonsense. And then equal, or if not worse than that, is the people who then take those videos and send them to the RCMP to be like, have you seen this? Here's the tip.
And again, bogs down an investigator who has to deal with that. And
they're like, I was going to go and do something useful today, but now I have to spend an hour writing this up in Prime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But long story short, and I think in my second episode, I've been doing an episode once a week about this case, kind of just talking about everything that's happened over the past week. In fact, like later tonight, I'll be recording an episode covering what's happened in the second week since their disappearance. But in my prior episode, I guess said things about, I devalued the contribution of some of the psychics on YouTube that are assisting, I'm using air quotes, assisting in this case. And I got an email from a listener, probably ex-listener, saying, why don't you leave the psychics alone, you Nova Scotian POS? You know what POS
I really want merch that says Nova Scotian
POS. Yeah.
I self-identify as that before that email, and they didn't change my opinion on psychics. I'll tell you that. On psychics who assist in missing persons investigations, or psychics that can, like, for a set amount of money, will help someone fall in love with you or something.
And I also want to say, people who don't podcast, the conversations that we have, there's not always a lot of time for nuance, right? I mean, just because you're saying there's psychics out there who aren't great and they lead people down a path that they don't need to go down, that doesn't mean you're saying that about every person out there who identifies as psychic or a medium or whatever, right? I mean,
I can't qualify every statement that I make, just like the families of the victims can't qualify every statement they make.
No, we'd be here for 3 hours. You wouldn't listen. You'd be bored.
And I do want to shift gears for a second around that and just talk about, I don't know anything about the family. Like I've seen Daniel, the clips. I heard that one clip about from the mom. That's all I really know. And I could, yes, of course I could judge them on, their property or whatever, but I've sort of grown away from that as a person. If that's how people live, that's how they live. I'm sure they have a reason for it. They've just got a lot of stuff, right? But what I believe that the perspective I can give is that over the years, what I have learned is there are no perfect victims and there are no perfect victim families. And so, we will cover cases of missing people. They have a lot of dark history. If we had all gone missing on our worst day, like, what would people say about us, and or if we had a loved one go missing or our children go on our worst day, like when we were in debt and when we were in addiction and when we were, just out of a divorce or whatever, what would people say about us or you or anybody? And so I look at like Dylan Ehler's family, right? Not the perfect victims. Like, they reacted in a lot of wild ways. Like, his dad was banned from the Truro Police Department because he was going in there screaming and yelling. And then people pulled a whole bunch of like information about possible scams that they had going with regards to, I think it was COVID money or something like that. Like, I don't quote me on it, but it's like that. None of that equals guilt
or murder
of murdering your child. Like, so yes, this is a rural family that doesn't look like they have a lot of means. I think that Daniel was working 1 day a week at a sawmill. Mom wasn't working. Like, that's tough. Those are tough times.
Absolutely. But not unique. There are many people living like that. And just everything you just said there, it makes so much sense. But one other thing to think of is, like, if you were to go missing, who in your family or which one of your loved ones would be the one talking to the news, and how would they do in that situation? Because many people, like, to be on the news, like a film team is coming tonight, we're going to interview you on the evening news. That would be so, like, just anxiety riddled that God knows how you'd come off.
And we're
And
gonna
in
use
this case,
15 seconds of your 1 hour interview.
yeah, we'll talk to you for an hour. We'll use 20 seconds of it. And then 50,000 people are going on Facebook are going to decide if you killed your kids based on that clip we air.
Yeah.
It's awful. And it's like, that's the thing. There are no perfect victims. There are no perfect victim families. You're not like in the, like, okay, great. Got the money in the bank, got the nice house ready to go. Now my kids can go missing, you know? And again, no playbook is handed to the families of the missing either. Like, oh, this is how you deal with 50,000 Facebook people who are all like angry at you. Like this is how you do a grid search. Like, you know, I think about Heather Stuka on Sun Peaks Mountain when she had to teach herself how to do like contour searching and grid searching on the mountain because nobody was there for her anymore. Like, these are things that these families have to learn on the fly. And if they have means, then that's okay. Like, it's not okay. It makes it a little bit easier, right? But if you don't, you're not of means. Like, I spoke to one family a couple of weeks ago and I was telling them about different people, like, please bring me home. And they just said to me, like, we don't know about these things because they live in like literally in the middle of Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, but like southern, like so closer to the US. So they don't have access to this information because they're not in all the missing groups and that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. It's almost like when tragedy hits close to home for you, it's almost like one thing you need is like a manager to like come and assist you. And that's why, you know, groups like Please Bring Me Home, and there's other groups like that. That's one purpose they serve is we can help you navigate media, social media, all these things that you never would want to deal with while dealing with, the worst
and
experience.
I almost wish the RCMP would, I know they're busy. I know this, like the RCMP is a very busy organization, but I almost wish they would let families know about all the options that are available to them that are outside of their organization.
Yeah,
right?
not just victim services inside the,
that they'd have these pamphlets for Wings of Mercy, Please Bring Me Home. There's a bunch of nonprofit organizations in Canada that are available to people of families of missing people, but I don't know that the RCMP always guides the families in that direction, and they're kind of left to figure it out on their own. And
well, but also, like, what does it say?
We are close to the end of the streaming of the channel Nighttime podcast. They are from Nova Scotia, the same town where the two children were missing, Jack and Lilly Sullivan. So we still have like 15 minutes before ending the streaming tonight. And maybe after the end, we can talk a little bit about the case here in the chat, guys. So still 15 minutes.
About them, that if victim services can't do everything you need to do, and they're then recommending these other unrelated groups, maybe it would just make them look bad to not be like a one-stop shop.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there's there's only so much they can do, right? Because
that's true.
Underfunded, and
they investigate crime.
They investigate crime, and
investigate a complaint comes in. They investigate, search for evidence of a crime, and then recommend charges if that's what happened, right? But then missings are just a whole other thing. Missings are like, okay, we got to get people together, which is why SAR comes in.
I wish we had a dedicated missing persons task force, like a federal thing that was like alongside the RCMP that could dedicate more of their time to specifically missing persons files. But I just don't think it's going to happen in the next 5-10 years, but we'll see.
All this to say, with this case, for two children to have gone missing, nothing to be found after 2 weeks and counting, unprecedented, completely defies statistics. Most missing persons cases in Canada are wrapped up within 24 hours. Very unusual for it to go on beyond a week. And that said, if you look at missing persons cases in Canada, especially if you drill down to missing children, the overwhelming majority of them are runaway cases, which this clearly isn't. So statistically, this is just an abnormality in every way. And again, the wild card here is that it's two kids and not one in rural Nova Scotia. Every new update that comes out, I'm waiting to hear something significant. I'm shocked that it hasn't happened yet. It's
I know.
And unfortunately, that significant thing is the, as the weight of what we're talking about sort of like lands, right? Like what we are talking about is two kids who have been missing for two very small, like young children who have been missing for 16 days. And the end result of this is going to be something that will, impact Canadians when we find out, unless, there's some miracle of survival or some mistake or something like this. It doesn't, unfortunately, look good.
No, it looks like they're going to, recover remains likely, but I mean, I don't know what's next. I think the police have just concluded their search efforts on May 18th. And the last line here is, this weekend search will be carefully reviewed and assessed by investigators and search managers to help in planning any further ground and air search efforts. So that there sounds like if we decide to do more.
Yeah, at the time of the recording of this, they are just wrapping up their second search. Like when they restarted the search, they're just wrapping that up, and it looks as though it's not going to continue beyond tonight. Although the decision hasn't formally been made yet, it seems unlikely, and that would tell me it's unlikely they found anything substantial. Although they haven't come out and said that yet. As far as where this goes, they've searched the forest enough where I can say it's unlikely the kids are in there.
But then we've seen cases like this where end up like they're found 500 meters, and I'm like, why did nobody find them?
Yeah.
They were there the whole time. But
including search dogs, because it's I get people air, but like search dogs
they're good.
Powerful tool.
They're good at what they do. And they had drones, they had thermal drones, they had all of the equipment that you would want out there, all the experts, all the dogs. They really pulled out every last resource they had.
I think that's a part of the reason, and people cannot understand that, and that leads to people making comparisons to this case and like Chris Watts in the United States, or here in Nova Scotia, we had a woman, Penny Boudreau, who was eventually convicted of murdering her daughter. A lot of people are making comparisons to that case, but I think that is just like what. And I hate to say it, but it's just like I don't know what could have happened here.
Well, and Penny was very good at going to the media and crying. You know what I mean? Like, I know we people for some reason on the audience people, like that, not our audience, but like the Facebook people who watch this kind of stuff, they're like, why was there no tears, or how come they had too many tears, or whatever, right? But like Penny was, Penny, who did end up, she did murder her daughter, and she acted all the right ways in front of the media. But then
people ripped her apart too.
After
people were buying it. They were buying what she was selling at first.
They didn't like Vernon. They liked Penny.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how innocent Vernon is, but but who knows?
But to make comparisons between this story and that story, the reason we know about Penny Boudreau, it was such a unique and unusual thing. It's not something that happens all the time, that someone goes on the news and cries and begs for help finding the person that they had just murdered. But people are making that comparison, and again, I think it's just people can't understand why nothing was found. Was it an abduction? Was it a kidnapping? Was there some sort of foul play? It's a mystery, and maybe that's why this case has gotten so much attention. Is it's such a mystery without a logical explanation.
That's 100% why. I mean, I was just looking at the top comment on the timeline on Reddit. The top comment is, I don't like that they were absent from school for 48 hours before they went missing. That's a red flag to me, because I think what they're saying is did they really go missing that morning, or have they been missing since Wednesday, and they've had now 48 hours to invent their story, clean up whatever they did. So I think there's a lot. I understand why people are invested in this case. There's not enough answers. There's too many questions. We have two parents, a stepdad and a biological mother, who are making public appearances. And so people love those because they get to rip them apart. Because I mean, look at Chris Watts. He went in front of the camera, said, I want my wife and kids back. We all know how that ended. We've been, I guess, betrayed by people before, where they, you know what I mean? Like, we felt bad. We saw their sob stories, but it turns out they were playing us. And I think people always want to see that now.
or at least have to think of it as a possibility. But again, it's like the unicorn of grieving parents. Like there's a handful of cases you can point out where that was.
Yeah,
was
and
the
9
case.
times out of 10, the parents had nothing to do with it, and these really are just 2 missing kids.
And I do want to point out that Redditor's comment, like, I know I was kind of like going full force on the Facebook comment sections. Like, as Canadians, we can publicly participate in interests of public matter. Like, we can do that on social media. We absolutely 100% can do that. I love Web Sleuth. It's very smart. There's people provide very smart information on there. Some of the Reddit threads, very smart people. Like that person, what they just commented, that's an interesting question. It's not an accusation. It's just like,
they're
hey,
just
that's
saying, hey,
interesting.
that's weird.
You know, so like, yeah, by all means, participate. Participate, have your voice or whatever. But just be mindful of what defamation actually is in Canada, and be mindful that people involved in this case might see your comments, and there is a risk level there for you.
Well, and also ask yourself, is this necessary?
Yeah.
Before you hit enter or send, is this adding to the conversation?
Do you want to hear about my unpopular idea that would completely change the world and fix the internet?
Yes.
If every online interaction, whether it's liking a post, replying to a post, posting something, sharing something, if everything simply cost 5 cents,
yeah,
it would it's not a lot of money. So I don't think it would exclude anyone from the online discourse, but it's enough that you would, at least for a second, be like, should I?
Yeah.
Oh, mine was, it should be delayed for 24 hours.
I like that one too. I
know that kills the idea of news or whatever. Like,
yeah,
like if there's some war that broke out that people want instant news on it, or some tragedy or whatever. But I think that like comment sections and those things, they should go through an algorithm filter for 24 hours that decides whether it's useful or not.
See,
I think my 5 cent idea would work.
But I think the best thing is we get rid of comment sections altogether.
Yeah, well,
no discourse for you.
Maybe not. I think
we're not good at this, guys.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to solve it. Anyway, this has been a great conversation. Like, this case is a mystery, but it's important. There's 2 missing kids, and a country of people. Like, this story has spread far and wide. A country of people who want to see an end to this, preferably an end that involves them being brought home, but at least an end to the mystery.
Yeah. And I think, if people do have information, if they have information or sightings, if they have
credible
tips, where can they send that information? They can always call Crime Stoppers.
Simply the Nova Scotia RCMP, or any you call your local RCMP station.
And I have the file number here. It is 2025-583775. So that will be the file number that you quote when you're giving your tip.
And that Crime Stoppers number, of course, is 1-800-222-8477.
So I think they are saying bye-bye. Just to wrap up here, guys, with you. Yeah, of course, this case is still a mystery. I think law enforcement, they have maybe a lot of information at this point that is not being released to the public. I don't know. Let's see. At one point, law enforcement said that they are not very, how can we say, they don't have hope about the possibility of the children being alive. That is really weird. I don't know. And maybe that was kind of wild. Or either they know that the children are not alive, or they are playing some type of game here. I don't understand, but I don't know. What do you think, guys, about the whole situation here so far? I'm gonna just drop the link again here. It is really weird that the mother of the children, she left the area she lived. the other child, the baby, 16 months, he's in the child protecting services, and she just left the area. If you are the mother of this baby, you should, I don't know, in my opinion, in your heart, in your mind, you would be close to your baby, but she decided to leave the area. So I don't know if she's maybe under custody of law enforcement, collaborating with law enforcement. I don't know. I'm gonna go with the comments here, guys. Let me go a little bit up. Michelle, Cryptex, do you know where the mom moved to? And is it near the real father's or his family or native land? I don't have any idea. This is a very good question. I don't know where she went. I don't know if she's working with law enforcement. I know that there was an argument. There was like a big discussion at one point in that mobile house, in that land, a discussion between the mother and the family of the stepdad. So I don't know what actually happened there. After that argument, after that discussion, the mother left the area. And I don't want to give some wrong information, but from what I understand is that the property is actually owned by the stepdad family. So maybe I don't know if the mother of the stepdad ordered that woman, the mother of the children, to exit the property. I don't know. This is a very good question. I don't know where she is. Let's see if we're gonna have some information. Most mothers would be devastated and searching, but not this one. Weird. The other possibility is that she's actually working with law enforcement. I don't know. Barbara, I don't think the mother, but I don't understand the mother, but everyone is different. I pray they are found. I don't know. Law enforcement at one point, they said that they don't have too much hope, that they think that the children are not alive. So I don't know what's behind that statement. It's interesting. Michelle, I might be interesting to know where she moved to. Yeah, me too. Me too. That's one of the pieces that we're missing here. Annalisette, it would be nice if we find that the mother arranged to get the children away and she followed. Probably wishful thinking, but it would be a better ending. I hope they are alive, but I don't know. Let's see. Organic nature. I have a hard time believing the 16 months old was not up and about with her siblings. Yeah, good point. People have different reactions to fear, Luis Cuevas. Veronica, sorry, did the mom leave the toddler behind? Where the toddler was kept by the CPS, the Child Protection or Protective Services. And after that, she left. We don't know why. We don't know if that's because she believes that the stepdad is guilty and she's collaborating with law enforcement, or on the other side is because she's involved and she's like escaping. I don't know. I don't know what to think at this point. I watch too many cases of missing children. They are suspicious. Yeah, I agree with you. And this case is even more interesting because we have two children. It's not like the Summerwells case. It's not like the Sebastian Rogers case. In this case, we have two children that are missing. And again, to me, it's unlikely that an accident happened. The only accident I can see here is that they took some drugs that were in the house, and because of that intake, let's say, they died by overdose. But when we are talking about drugs, the people who are handling drugs, they are very careful of not of keeping the drugs close to themselves because it's an expensive material, you know. So I don't think that was the situation. So again, we have two possibilities, in my opinion. I discard an accident. I don't think that's likely, but it's still a possibility. But I think this case is an abduction situation or a murder situation related to a stranger or related to someone close to the family. So I don't know. Let's see for the evolution of this case. Mar is saying hello to Luis. Oh, sorry for this. I did a boo-boo here. I have to go back in the chat, guys. I did a boo-boo. Okay, Luis Cueva still here. J. Ray is saying goodbye. Okay, thank you for being here, J. Ray. Thank you for the interaction and the comments. Mar, I pray they will be found. Me too. I hope so. Let's see. Hiawatha. Hiawatha is still here. I thought she was sleeping. We are on the same page, Mar, as per usual. Yeah, you are like sisters. It's crazy. You are always in the same line of thinking. Annalise, someone said that baby was taken by their equivalent of CPS. Yeah, that's my understanding. The baby is at the CPS. Precocite. As a mother of three, I would never live within days of my child missing. I will be speaking with every human I could find in order pleading to show their picture story. No one could stop me. Yeah, but we don't know what's behind the scenes. I understand your point and I agree. 100%. But what if she's working with law enforcement? I don't know. So good. But I get your point for sure. Someone needs to get that baby and give it some love. Yeah. It's Nana Boomer. Sorry, my cursor is not reacting properly. Give me just 1 second, guys, here. What happened here? Sorry, my cursor is playing some tricks here. I lost my cursor. Oh my God. Just 1 second. Okay, I got it. Okay. Nana Boomer. If I was so bereft of the unknown situation of my two children going crazy, I might want to leave my baby in the hands of people I felt were safe. maybe the CPS is a place where your baby is gonna be safe. I don't know. I'm not a woman. I don't have children, so maybe I'm not the best person to give an opinion about that. But yeah, I get your point. Precosint. I had heard that CPS told mom to take the baby and leave, otherwise the baby would be taken into custody. Good point. Last alive school bus driver Tuesday afternoon. Yeah, that's interesting. That's the last reporting of the children being alive. Like 3 days before they were reporting being missed. It's a lot of time to get rid of a body, let's say, if something happened to the children. Don't want to go into conspiracy land, but yeah. Thank you so much, Sir J. Ray, for being here. Precosint, accident, elimination, abduction. Which is most likely? This is a great question. Accident, I would discard accident right away, but maybe I would be wrong, but this is a case where 2 children are missing, so an accident happening to 2 children, I don't see it. Elimination, no, I don't see it either. Abduction, yeah, abduction, yes. Again, someone close to the family, a stranger. That's the point. Let's see. Luis Cuevas, still here. Cool to have you here. Veronica, I was worried thinking it's been 3 days. My heart. Learning it since the end of April. Yeah, it's almost 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks. It's crazy, huh? Parents are always, we have Fishy here. Hey, hello, Fishy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. How are you?
Good. My internet's being kind of like slow, so if it lags or anything, I apologize.
Awesome. Thank you for calling. So, yeah. Are you familiar with this case?
I'm kind of familiar with it. Like, I'm not like all like up to date on like watch it like super close, but somebody had said that like maybe did they go missing on like a Friday or something, and they had missed school or something beforehand. So someone said like maybe the girl or whatever like wanted to go to school, so got like her and her brother ready, and that's why she had her backpack and like went to go wait for the bus because like their parents weren't waking up or were like sleeping in, and then somebody snatched them off the road or something like that. I have no idea though.
Yeah, there's still so much information to know if that's going to be factual or not. What we know is that the last person that saw the children alive was the bus driver, and that was like 3 days before the children were reported missing. So
the last person outside of the home that saw them alive?
Exactly.
Oh.
So we don't know what happened between the day the bus driver saw the children and the day the parents reported the children being missed. It's a gap of 3 days, you know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, and I don't think it's all that weird for the mom to go and stay with her family, especially if she like is not buying her boyfriend's story, or like anything like that, I'd be out of there real quick. Like, it's not that she doesn't care about her kids. It's that, like, how are you going to sit there with somebody if you think they're being shady? I don't know.
Yeah, and one thing that is really interesting is that a couple of days ago, or no, after the mother of the children, she left the area. She actually blocked his boyfriend or his husband. I really don't know if it was his husband or boyfriend, but she blocked him on Facebook, and they broke like right away. I know that in this case, in this type of cases, it's very hard to stay together over time. We can see separations, people divorcing, let's say, but this was really quick. So they split right away, you know what I mean? So this is interesting, you know? It's like something happened in usually they stay together for a couple of months, let's say, and of course the situation is becoming hard for them. But this split
like
it
right
was
away,
really,
immediately.
yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. And what
I
do you
believe
think about the what do you think about the nature of the case, because we are talking about two children. So it's not, when we think about the Somerwell's case, is one children. Sebastian Rogers is one children, but here we have two of them. So every possibility is gonna be more complicated. You know what I mean? If we think about the possibility of an accident, it's it's really hard to have an accident of two children at the same time. An abduction, I don't know. What do you think about that? To me, it's really interesting that in this case we are talking about two children, and
I think
everything
that,
is more complicated. You know what I mean?
yeah, I do. And I think, like, if they wandered off into the woods, that would definitely make it more likely that they would find something, because there's two of them. But as far as like an abduction or something, like, they're very little. And if you think about little kids, an adult can just literally snatch them up, like pick them up. And like they said that they're friendly kids. And so they probably would just get in the car, especially if they're neglected, which it seems like. Not to say that, like, just because their parents were sleeping in that day, like maybe they had sick kids and they had a good reason to sleep in, but like also, there could be some neglect there. And so kids like that are like prime targets for any type of like predator is gonna like zoom in on that real quick. And like they said, they're super friendly. They just get in the car.
Yeah, good point. I don't know. This case is really, I don't know, interesting. Every time we see like a case of this nature where children are involved, to me, right away that triggers some interest. But again, we are talking about two of them. It's not the usual situation, you know. So I don't know.
Absolutely. And then, well, I mean, I don't know anything about the people who lived on that property, but wasn't it like his mom and his brother or something?
I think the owner of the property, and again, this is to be confirmed. I'm just starting my research in this case, but from what I understand is that the mother of the husband is the owner of the property, and when that argument or when that fight happened between the mother and the husband or the boyfriend, let's say, the she was like sucked from the property, like this is not your property, so just get away. I don't know, that's what I understand, but still too much information to be confirmed here.
Dude, and
Is
anytime there's a step parent, and also just like anytime there's a dude that's too close to his mom, like those are alarm bells. Those are like weird. Like not like men should have a good relationship with their mothers, but not like us they really close. Like where I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, no, I got your point. As usual, you have very, very good points. I love the way your mind works for sure. Uh, what are your like? I know this is today is maybe too early to formulate some type of hypothesis, but do you have some ideas or some hypothesis here? Or what do you think based on the previous
Um,
cases you were working on? Let's say.
or just like my first instinct like with kids like that is if there's like water nearby, like you know they could easily be just like swept away, and kids just like are attracted to water and like all those wilderness. But then like adding the factors that like they were absent from school for like 1 to 2 days prior, like that widens that gap of time to like possibly having foul play and then reporting it like later. So I mean, I don't know. Like I don't know if the parents give off like weird vibes because they're just like they live out in the wilderness and they're different types of people, or if that's like an intuition thing, you know. But I mean, they're little kids, so obviously first you got to look at the parents.
Yeah, but I don't see the two children walking so far into the forest without any shoes, without any boots. You know what I mean? It's gonna be really hard.
Didn't they
Uh,
say that they had their boots or something?
I
I thought he said that they have their boots and their backpack or something.
the backpack, yes, but maybe I misunderstood the statement of the stepdad. But what I understood is that the boots were just next to the sliding door. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstood that statement, but I don't know. Um I have to look again into that element. It's a very important information, and maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, like my new thing is trying to like not lock myself into an opinion on cases because I think it makes it difficult to change your mind when new information comes in if you've already been like, this is definitely what I think happened. So I
Yeah,
try
yeah, yeah.
to like have maybe like a main theory, but then kind of also just try to not lock that in. Not because I'm like afraid to be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. I have no problem admitting that, but just for like my own cognitive dissonance, you know?
Yeah, I understand. The other thing is that there were search dogs, uh, and apparently there's no indication that the children were in the wooden area in the forest. So that's weird. I don't know. Let's see. It's maybe too early. I think that law enforcement they have maybe more information that it was released to the public for sure. But yeah, the fact that the dogs they were not able to detect any scent is weird.
Especially with
So
that one kid in diapers still, it seems like the dogs would like be able to like catch that kind of a scent, you know, like more so. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. And the other thing is that there are some water areas near to that mobile house, but those are like lakes. It's not creeks, it's not rivers. And there were divers searching on that lakes, and they were not able to find any anybody. So I don't know. This is a big mystery here. I'm really very interested in this case. You know, I'm living in Canada, so it's close to me somehow,
Hmm.
even if I'm closer to US because Nova Scotia is really so far from this from my town, but I don't know. It's a mystery. And again, when we are talking about two children, it adds like a layer to the mystery. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. But I just, when that person was saying that maybe they tried to get on the school bus, that kind of like seems like it could be like a good working theory since the scent went up the driveway. 'Cause I don't mean, I don't know how far up the driveway their car is, but like, wouldn't that indicate that they walked up the driveway?
I made a calculation in Google Earth, and it was like 50 meters, so it's not very long.
We're in
Actually,
America here. I don't know what 50 meters are.
I think it's like 50 yards, something like that.
Oh yeah.
So it's not very, it's not a very huge distance. You know what I mean? So maybe it was a kidnapping scenario, but by a stranger. I wouldn't discard that situation, but
Isn't it like a very small area though? That like, is there even that many people that would be driving around like that area?
yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. Yeah, again, still too much information to gather. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if we are, this is like the third week after the disappearance. Let's say
that sucks.
It sucks. So I hope it's not gonna be like the Summerwell's case or the Sebastian Rogers case. I hope these children are gonna be found, and let's see. I don't know.
It's like the one case where you like actually hope that they're abducted because then they could still be alive. Because if they're just like lost, then they're definitely not.
Yeah. And the other theory is that in Canada, especially in that type of areas, there are animals, there are bears. So one of the theories is that maybe an animal attacked the children.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I actually saw here in Montreal, I saw some, I don't know the name in English. Raccoons is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
Like wild animals in the town, in a very metropolis town. You know what I mean? So I know that in that type of areas, it's easy to have bears and wild animals, but I think the searchers they would be able to find some type of trace about that.
I mean, maybe like, but also maybe not. Like, just yeah, I don't know. Animals leave tracks, but like also animals like kids especially, they're weak. Like they'll go right for them. Like even at the zoo, you'll see kids like right up against the glass, and the animals go straight for like little kids. And if you think about it, it's just like almost like a little snack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. They're very attracted to that type of scenarios.
Yeah.
You were talking about because we heard that those children they were type of maybe they had some type of autism,
Mm-hmm.
and you said that this type of children they are attracted to water areas. So do you think that maybe they were drowned? You know what I mean?
I mean, it literally is when anybody goes missing, like the first thing I'm like, is there any water nearby? Because it happens, like it happens a lot. Like even full grown adults like drown easily. So like little kids, like they could have, like definitely they could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Let's see what's gonna be the evolution of this case. Do you remember any similar case, like two children missing? And
I mean, I live in Oregon, and there is some crazy stories about like little kids that like were there 1 second, like hiking with their parents, and then like gone. And then like some of them will even show up miles and miles away, and they like, you can't, I mean, there's always crazy stories about, I don't know, stuff that happens, but I can't think of any where like 2 kids just like went missing, like this exact circumstance, but who knows?
Yeah, no, I got it. I don't know. Let's wait. At this point, I think we are missing a lot of information. I don't know if what's gonna come in the next weeks. I hope the children are still alive. Like, let's see. I don't know. It's still a mystery. Why are you so silent in your channel? What's going on?
Oh man, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes our people are, I don't know. I just don't want to get into the drama that is this community sometimes, and I don't know. I just haven't really had anything too much to say, I guess. I mean, I always have stuff to say, but like, I don't know if anybody wants to hear it.
For sure, I'm always there. You have great guests, and why not?
Mar hates my guests all times. She always tells me. Plus, I think the last show I did was actually the one with you and Sleuth, and that one just was like, and Sterling, and yeah, that one didn't go well. And I love Sterling, I love you, and I just was an interesting mix. Which did you have Sleuth on your show recently?
Yeah,
that's cool. That's way cool.
Yeah, 100%. No, but just do your thing, guys. I love to hear you talking about the cases, and when you have actually you had very interesting guests in your channel. I remember the one talking about that girl that was killed in a motel or a hotel. That was a really great show. Stuff like that. Just keep doing your thing. You have a very nice way to think, So I love your thoughts.
And I say entirely too much. It's out of control. But yeah, no. I probably will get started again, I guess. Oh.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, no, almost more than 2 hours here, so I think I'm gonna just end the streaming tonight.
Okay, thanks for having me on, and I love everybody out there. And good night.
Can you read this comment before leaving?
I love Don't Hate Create. I love Mar. Mar's like the OG original Don't Hate Create fan.
Yeah. And we had tonight also Barbara. Do you know Barbara? Timmy's Legacy or not?
I don't think so. No.
So I had Barbara maybe 7 months ago here in my channel. She lost her 2 sons.
Actually, I think I did see that.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of stuff going on through my head, but tell me about it.
Yeah, so the story is really interesting. So we are gonna dip into the case of Barbara's son, Timmy. So, anyways, so I think it's gonna be that for tonight. Thank you so much, Fichi. I appreciate you calling, and it was always a pleasure.
Good night.
Good night, and thank you guys in the chat. It was really fun to talk to you tonight. I think this case is really interesting, and we're gonna keep working on this, covering this case. So, thank you so much. Thank you, Mar, and thank you guys in the chat. See you this week. Bye bye.